You're listening to Puma Podcast.
What a game by Olivia McDaniel.
Serena Bolden seated.
And
And the Philippines gets the 3 points. Historical 3 points for the Philippines. They win their first ever FIFA Women's World Cup match. 18 months ago, this was just a pipe dream. This was something that we could never expect. And here we are, not just making up the numbers, but racking in the points.
In July 2023, the Philippines watched one of its own teams, the Filipinas, play in the World Cup for the first time ever. In this episode, sports writers and longtime fans introduce us to the barrier-breaking team and tell us what's next for them. I'm Bella Perez Rubio, Puma Podcast for Teka Teka News.
I would say that many Filipinos probably first heard of football in the pop culture context many years ago when the Azkals got a lot of media attention and a lot of endorsement.
That's Siege Santenko, a sports writer and host of Go Hard Girls, the first podcast to exclusively cover the stories of Filipina athletes.
But in recent years, it's really been our women's team that's been shining and that's been accelerating in the ranks of football when you look at the global rankings. So our women's team in the last 5 years have jumped so many places in world rankings. In 2020, we were ranked world number 65, and this was our highest ever ranking at the time, no? But in 2022, we were at number 54. And then earlier this year, in March, we were number 49. For comparison, our men's team is currently at 135. And last year, we qualified for the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, for the first time in history. That makes our women's national team the first Filipino football team, male or female, to go to the World Cup.
And here we have it again. They will run into this one.
Well, set pieces are big.
Seeing a
right?
Philippine
You gotta
team
do
qualify
something
for the
with
World
these
Cup was
challenges.
dizzying enough. But the Filipinas didn't stop there.
Egish right now. High ball to Serena Bolden! And Bolden gets the first goal for the Philippines in the FIFA Women's World Cup!
That's a story for so many Filipino sports, right? We come in, we're the underdog, and we want to prove ourselves. So I'm not surprised that they gave an amazing fight. They gave a good fight. They took it to New Zealand. But I think winning against New Zealand was certainly an upset if you look at it in terms of rankings. And that's why it's such a big achievement for us. It's an achievement not only that we scored, but that our defense held New Zealand to being scoreless for the whole game. That's a world ranked number 26 that wasn't able to score against us in the World Cup. What does that say about the quality of our defense, diba?
The Filipinas advanced to the next round to face Norway, a team ranked number 12 in the world.
And what a goal from Norway!
Of course, it was a humbling loss to end the campaign.
That's Louis Morales, a sports writer who contributes regularly to Philstar.com and Spin.ph.
Manom. Philippines trying to clear it
We
away.
lost 6-0 to Norway, but
Just couldn't get
yeah, it was a overall great learning experience and something that I'm sure not only the fans but the players will also want to do again. The sense of community that we were able to create with the way that they performed was so great.
It's true, there were buoyant scenes of Filipino pride all throughout our World Cup run. Filipinos flocked to European stadiums to cheer the team on. And in the Philippines, watch parties cropped up all over Metro Manila.
when I look at it in retrospect, it really impacted me in a way to be able to share the journey, to be able to see the impact of this World Cup run with our fellow Filipinos here. So I was able to go to all watch parties for the three matches and to just, I guess, feel the impact and see it on, kids' faces, on the fans, on the community who has long been there behind the Filipinos, and those people who just got on for the ride ngayon lang. Like, it was such a mix of emotions for everyone to see them compete at the highest level. Like, every time they sing the national anthem before the matches, you can see them overflow with emotions. The players, the captain Haley Long, you will always see her crying, and then you'll see everyone singing and just really feeling all those emotions. It makes me feel like I'm part of it as well. And to see them just really have that Philippine flag on their jerseys, it's so great.
We hear more about members of the Filipinas team and what's next for them after a quick break.
Definitely one of the names that everyone should know is Olivia McDaniel. So she is our goalkeeper. It's not necessarily the most coveted highlight, or it's not necessarily what's the most glorious moment in a football match, but definitely Olivia has been playing one of the biggest roles in our team. Even from qualifying in the Asian Cup, she was the one who stopped those penalty shots from Chinese Taipei, and she was the one to slot in one of the penalties as well for us to, set up that shot where we were able to qualify for the World Cup.
High ball in again, an opportunity, but Olivia
what a
Macedo
save!
extends.
And of course, Serena Bolden, she's our lone goal scorer so far in the World Cup. She was able to score that header against New Zealand.
Last July 2022, the Filipinas beat Thailand to capture their first ever regional title. The ASEAN Football Federation Championship match at Rizal Memorial Stadium saw Serena Bolden score her 8th goal of the tournament. A video of supporters serenading her as she made her way to the team's bus went viral shortly after.
I think she's tied with Kinley Quezada as the two with the most goals in Filipinas history. So definitely those three names, and Captain Haley Long. She's been the one who has been working so hard with the back line to just really make sure that the opposition, they don't get as easy of looks as they would. And we have Sarah Egesvik in the midfield. She's one of the fan favorites, actually. If you go to TikTok, you see a lot of edits of her, and rightly so, because she's one of the better players in our team. And our homegrown talent, Anika Castañeda, and of course, goalkeeper, former captain Ina Palacios. So yeah, definitely a lot of promising players. We have Bella Flanagan, one of the younger players in the team, but definitely we see them, and Isabella Passion. Our future is safe with them. It's kind of hard because I feel like everyone is a notable name.
After this historic World Cup run, I asked Louis, what's next for this team?
The team has two more big tournaments coming up this year. So they have the Asian Games in September. I think that's the first time we'll be joining the Asian Games for women's football. So definitely look out for that. And then we also have the second round of Olympic qualifiers in October. So yeah, those are the two big tournaments coming.
And here's sports writer and Go Hard Girls host Siege Tantenko again.
There are some changes to look out for. Our national coach, who was part of this World Cup run, has stepped down from the team. They released a statement saying that he's going to be pursuing other opportunities.
Australian head coach Alan Stachik's 2-year tenure saw the Filipinas break several glass ceilings. He'll be returning to Australia to coach Perth Glory, a men's team in the Professional Football League.
there are more changes to watch out for and see how that's going to develop. But certainly, there is a lot of hope right now in the women's football community.
Both Siege and Louis emphasize that it's critical that we invest in grassroots programs.
Obviously, this is a great batch of players. It's a great group. There are a lot of talent, but eventually we'll have to stop relying on these people. Of course, their careers are not gonna be forever. So definitely looking at those, where can we hold tournaments for elementary school kids? Where can we train players from the provinces so that they get the kind of exposure that they need to develop their talent?
And if we want to see more gains in women's football, Siege says supporters and media have a role to play as well.
If there's anything to take away from the watch parties that have been popping up all over the country, it's that there is an appetite, there is an audience. These are people who were filling up, portions of UP Town Center and losing their minds. And there were people in sports bars, jumping up and down and, and just coming together for this national team. There's an appetite for women's football in this country, which many people still believe is a basketball nation. Certainly, basketball is still the most popular sport, but women's football, for us, that could be another source of pride. And so hopefully in the years to come, we see an increased amount of media coverage. Hopefully next time we see very accessible free TV coverage. Hopefully this also translates into more branded partnerships, more endorsements, more financial support for our women's national team.
It's undeniable that this team has seen a groundswell of support from the public, but it's been the subject of fierce debate as well. Up until 2022, this team was playing under a different name. They were called the Malditas. But in 2021, a former coach, Marlo Maro, proposed choosing a different name because Maldita, a term that can mean feisty or combative in Tagalog, quote, doesn't represent the beauty of being a Filipina. A number of team players and supporters pushed back, wanting to keep the unique name that matched the energy and tone of the men's team's Askels. The eventual decision to change the name to Filipinas was met with criticism from supporters, and their World Cup stint has led to discussions of the players' identities. Just take, for example, headlines from American news outlets such as, quote, U.S. diaspora helps Philippines make World Cup history with country's first ever appearance, unquote. And, quote, Women's World Cup team from Philippines has American flavor, unquote. Here's sports writer Louis Morales weighing in.
Because a lot of our players are born and raised in the US, some of them in Europe. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of us should look at what a Filipino really means. Like, what does it even mean for us to be Filipino? And what I think about it is that being Filipino means to pour out your heart and soul, play out everything that you have for us to be able to, or for you to be able to bring glory to the country. And I feel like each and every one of them, they work so much, they sacrifice so much, they sacrifice with their time with family, their time to, just relax. And maybe they would have even chosen to play for another country, and for them to choose us and for them to work the way that they did for us, I think we owe them a little more appreciation. For so long, women have been, getting the short end of the stick in sports, and for these Filipinas to be able to banner the Philippines in a sport that's, dominated by men, or people think that that's a masculine sport, for them to be able to break those barriers and punch so much above their weight, it's insane. Like, I don't think words can describe what that impact has on myself, on the football community, on the little boys and girls who are watching them, that to be able to show them that, you can also do this. It's possible. Even if you're from the Philippines, you can achieve what they have done.
And here's Siege Tantenko with the final word.
Seeing the Filipinas in the World Cup shouldn't be an extraordinary occurrence. The next thing to aim for is winning more games, progressing in the competition, building upon those achievements so that we can reach higher and higher and higher. And then one day, we may even find ourselves vying for the championship. And for us to get there, we need concrete support, financial support for the growth of grassroots programs so that we can discover more homegrown talent, so that we can train the young Filipina girls who already display this talent but need the support to reach their full potential.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka News. Again, I'm Bella Perez Rubio. This episode was edited by Pidoy Blanco. Our executive producer is Jill Caro, and our senior news editor is Veronica Uy. Follow Teka Teka News on your favorite podcast app, or listen to us for free on YouTube. Thanks for listening.